Welcome back to HEUG the Mic, the podcast bringing higher ed tech to life, one HEUG voice at a time. The HEUG launched the Young Professionals Network in October of last year to provide a space for early career professionals to connect, learn, and grow. I'm joined by one of HEUG's emerging leaders, one of the folks behind the magic, someone who has a direct impact on building this space, Ernesto Crucet from Florida International University, and he is bringing fresh energy, new ideas, and a passion for helping early career professionals thrive in HEUG. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to dive into YPN, but we have to start with an icebreaker.
Absolutely.
And for those of you that don't know,
I have an olive farm.
The theme of the episode.
Right. I have an olive farm in Umbria, Italy, and it is my passion outside of higher ed technology. Yeah.
Love it. I was so excited telling everybody that we were having this conversation. I was like, he's got an olive farm. It's iconic. It's very cool.
A lot of fun. It's a lot of work. Everybody's always thinking, oh my God, that's so awesome. But it is a lot of work.
Right.
And you need a lot of patience for it. Yeah.
And is it generational, like been in the family, or is it new?
No. So my husband, he bought it was an old farmhouse that he restored, and that was like 7 years ago.
Wow.
And
cool.
The grove was kind of like abandoned, so it needed a lot of like deep pruning, and finally it's kind of come around and really doing some good production.
Cool. And you actually highlighted some crossover between being in the higher ed space and a beautiful post on the Young Professionals Network, and some of the kind of overlap of instances, obstacle management.
Absolutely. It's a lot of project management, and you have to really use a quick, kind of like agile, because you don't know what the season's going to give you. We're certified organic, so it's like, we just got to go with what we got.
Certified organic, how do you acquire that?
They come in and they test the soil. They make sure you don't use pesticides, because there's different, things that we have to watch out for as the fruit's developing. Like it's not similar to what we have here, like whitefly. And so you have to use an organic kind of mixture of bicarbonate and water to coat the leaves.
Oh.
And so, but it's all really highly like observed to make sure that you meet all those requirements.
Right. Cool. Well, we could talk olives and olive oil all day.
Yeah,
the conversation will continue. But to get us started today, if your olive farm and Orlando Sunshine had a dance-off, who'd win?
Yikes. That's really hard. I'm going to say it would have to be a draw. I mean,
epic visual, though.
It would have to be a draw, because the climate is kind of almost similar, but not really. Does get cold, but not too cold. You get a lot of sunshine, really hot summers. You don't want to be outside.
Yeah.
Almost like here, you're in the theme parks in the summer. It's brutal. Kind of the same, but over there you do have like the peace and serenity, which you can't get here, but here you have all the excitement.
What would the Olive Grove's dancing style be?
1980s Italian music, which is kind of like 80s American.
Right. Miami Vice. Tonight's welcome reception.
Absolutely, yes.
It's all coming together. It ties together. Okay, so YPN, the Young Professionals Network, and the council, the leadership committee that is driving this space, is that your first volunteer role with the HEUG?
Yes, it is. And one of the things that drew me to it was the nature of the YPN, because even though I've been in higher ed for like 20 years, and I would I was like that lurker in HEUG, kind of like trying to see who I can connect with, but I never really had that platform to really feel comfortable.
Right.
And I feel like YPN does that. And for the people that are particularly new, and not new as far as age, but just new to higher ed, it's a welcoming environment where we can connect them with people in their area of expertise, introduce them to emerging technologies, or even just if they need help with something super basic that someone has dealt with in the past, we can kind of make those connections. And it provides safe space to kind of join HEUG and kind of grow within HEUG, because there's so many other areas within HEUG that you can join and participate. So, and that kind of really drew me in, because not only do I get to be a council member with my years of experience, but I'm also kind of like at heart that person that needed that community and that connection.
So why not be part of building it?
Absolutely.
So with YPN, there's so much volunteer opportunity, and all of the council members of the YPN Council have different roles. You're the storytelling lead.
Yes.
So how have you kind of dove into that?
I've really used like my own experiences, and they're just so close to what someone new into higher ed would kind of experience, that kind of like that imposter syndrome that it's like, I have this position and I have these responsibilities that sometimes have carry a big weight. And so you always feel like I don't really belong in this position, even though you have all this experience and you're like a superstar. You kind of always retreat into that kind of imposter syndrome. So it's really good to have a platform like this to kind of break out of that and be like, no, I can do this.
Yeah.
And if I can't, it's okay to ask questions.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we really did try to frame it like this is your launch pad. So if you start here, we can direct you just like you were saying. And you made the point of kind of regardless of where you are, if you're new to higher ed, if you're new to the working force in general, but also you may have been in higher ed for 10 years and then moved to a different department.
Correct.
Gotten a totally new role. And you need to reset a little bit. And
Absolutely.
That's what YPN is all about.
Absolutely.
So can you tell us a little bit? Obviously, we're here at Alliance 2026. Can you tell us a little bit about YPN's presence here at the conference?
So, YPN, we're having that speed networking session. So we're going to kind of engage with people. And I'm really excited to see who kind of like now, if they're here in person, kind of approaches us. Sometimes people are a little easier to interact with you in person where, I don't know, it's just a little easier. Sometimes some people get intimidated with screens, not, all the technology and web sessions. And sometimes it's hard to make those connections. And so I think that in-person presence of YPN here can really make an impact and kind of invite people into the group.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to kind of making those connections and introducing YPN to some of the new attendees. I met, and I can't remember her name, but if she sees this, she'll know who I'm talking about. And we talked a little bit about, she took a Girl Scout group to France, and
Cool.
She was one of the volunteers giving directions. And I was actually asking her, where can I find Alex Green, or where are they doing the podcast? And she was very helpful. And she's like, it's right there, but you'll see her around. And so, but just those introductions, I think will attract people to it.
And that's actually interesting because if you look at the timeline, we went live in October of 2025. Now we're here with the speed networking event. The council is also coming to welcome first-time attendees early to the welcome reception. So I'm curious to see how that then translates back to the forum, as we're out there talking about it.
Correct.
That might really garner some traction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we will probably have plenty of good material for posts and discussion posts and kind of like maybe a rehash of what people experienced.
Yeah.
And if they engage with us or not and what they took away. And I think that'll help us shape kind of like future events.
Yeah. And just exposure, like getting the YPN out there.
Absolutely.
And you paired with Cassandra Mitchell from Maricopa Community College District. The YPN Council has been doing the monthly This and Yap.
Yes.
And following Alliance, I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but I think it's late March. It'll be an Alliance recap.
Yes.
So we need to plug that when we're talking to folks on site so that they can come and get involved with the Young Professionals Network. So we talked about what we are doing at Alliance.
Yes.
If the YPN could plan a dream event, in your wildest dreams, budget is no option or no boundary. What is YPN's dream event at Alliance?
Well, if you ask me to really dream, I think that we should have everybody take a lesson on olive oil tasting and get everybody to become an olive oil snob. But back to the topic, I think it would be really interesting if, to have a big, kind of like the network event that we're doing, but on a wider scale where you can kind of capture through some sort of data collection, everybody's particular interests or where they're lacking, and then kind of connect them to the expert and both within higher ed, but also through the vendors, and kind of have breakout sessions for those people where they group people through interest.
Yeah.
And it would be like a big kind of like networking.
That is kind of cool. Like even if it was at lunch, everybody does, what are you strong at? What do you want to improve on? And then we mentor match.
Yeah. Or even it's like, let's say, you're an expert in your field, but you've always been curious about, like Cassie, she does security. And, while I've experienced security through PeopleSoft or whatnot, I'm not an expert at
Right.
HEUG level. And it's like, maybe I want to add that to my list of skills. And it's like, I want to develop this mentorship.
Right.
And, you can make those connections. And even though right now it might not be relevant to what you do as a position, but it'll open so many doors. And even if, you just become a mentor for someone else, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, so of course, back to the olive farm. But between all of your work at HEUG and your olive farm, which requires more patience and why?
Well, they both require a lot of patience. And I'll talk about both. So with the olive farm, the patience is, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
The trees they have to hibernate during the winter. They have to be pruned early spring. Then the flowers will come in and you hope for good weather.
Right.
And because if there's a heavy rain and the flowers are budding, they can drop and they don't, kind of cross-pollinate or whatnot. And so they would lose the fruit. So there's all that waiting. And it's just basically a wait and see process all the way the whole year until, October when we start to harvest, and you kind of get to see like the quality of the olives. Like this last year, it was a really hot summer, so the olives were a little riper when we harvested, and so it changes the profile of the oil. And so in any case, that requires a lot of patience because it's kind of just like sit back, wait and see, and you don't have a lot of input. However, with technology, higher ed technology, it's a little different. You do have to have patience because some projects are very long-winded and, things happen that you don't expect, and changes in specs or things like that, something that we constantly deal with. And so you need to have a lot of patience, but at least in that scenario, you do need a lot of patience, but you have input and you can control the situation, and you can, at that point, use your expertise to kind of guide it and project manage to get that successful event at the end.
Different degrees of patience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Ernesto, you cannot say olive farm, nothing to do with olives here, but what is one fun fact about you that most HEUG members might not see in your HEUG bio?
Let's see. That I've become pretty fluent in Italian is one thing, out of pure necessity. Let's see. I used to breed like high-end corals.
Oh.
I used to have
like under the sea coral?
Yes. So I used to have this huge reef tank that was all technology blinged out so I could control it from my phone. And I had some really wild corals, all from all around the world. And so corals are similar. Well, olive trees have become my new corals because I don't have the time for the corals, but with the corals, you would prune them because they would get too large. But then the prunings you would be able to trade and sell through the hobby. So, and then they continue to grow. And so it's unlike olive trees. If you prune them, usually those go into a landfill, or like nobody says this, but you sometimes see like smokestacks, and it's people are burning them, which they shouldn't. But in any case, with the corals, you could, propagate them, and it would really help others, in the hobby. So someone like the YPN, someone starting off new, and you wanted to help them, you could give them some small, we would call them frags, which is short for fragments. And so they could grow a really high-end coral that, would cost you probably hundreds of dollars in a store. You could get it for free from someone that was just doing trimming.
What an interesting analogy.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Such an interesting guy you are. Corals, olives. Is there one that it really is near and dear to your heart between the olives and the corals?
I did the corals for since I started when I was 19.
Okay.
And I had one coral that by the time that I kind of handed it off to someone, because it was just with all my travel, it was really difficult to maintain. It was a 25-year-old coral. I had it for the full extent of all my different iterations of fish tanks. And it had grown, and it had gone through bad phases and good phases, but it was just so resilient. And it was like, it was like a child. It was 25 years old living in my fish tanks. And it was a green bubble coral.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was really nice.
Corals.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, Ernesto, I'm so excited about all of the things that YPN will do. And thank you for all of the contributions you've had already.
Absolutely.
On the space. If you are listening to this and want to have a HEUG launchpad, subscribe to the Young Professionals Network. You will find Ernesto there, and we will get you guys connected. But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was my pleasure.
Absolute delight. Thanks for hugging the mic. Catch all episodes of Hug the Mic wherever you listen: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon, and more. Have feedback, thoughts, or comments on the show? We'd love to hear from you. Use the Send Us a Text link in the episode description. Want more from the Hug? Visit hug.org and follow us on social media to stay connected with the community, events, and everything Hug. See you next time.